Texas A&M is trending towards one of the best recruiting classes in the country in the 2026 cycle, and potentially one of the best in school history. The 2026 group already boasts multiple 5 stars, national top 100 players, and one of the best defensive line hauls in the country. It's balanced, it's aggressive, and it's loud, and for some people, that brings up a familiar feeling or a familiar question. Haven't we seen this before? Didn't Texas A&M already sign the greatest class of all time? What did that get them? And yeah, we did. And it didn't get us much. Many of those players didn't make it to their senior year. Many transferred. I don't know where some of those players are these days. But I'm seeing a lot of I've seen this before, and how'd that work out last time, like I was just saying. And here's the truth. It didn't work last time, but that was the exception, not the rule. You run that kind of class back over and over and over again until it hits. Because the teams that win, the ones that go deep into January, into the playoffs, they all recruit at the top. Georgia, Bama, Michigan, LSU, top 5, top 10 every single year. And recruiting doesn't guarantee anything, but not recruiting at the top guarantees you won't win big. Yes, you've got to win in the fall. Everybody knows that. Do I need to say that? Some people just want to say that when met with any kind of recruiting talk. That's the obvious part. But elite recruiting, that's the price of admission. And Texas A&M is doing just that right now. And I think we got to stop and talk about it. Thank you guys for being here. I want to talk about some of the recent commits. I've been away for a while. We haven't talked about Tristan Givens. We haven't talked about Bryce Wright. There's a lot to go through. We've barely talked about Brandon Arrington. And Texas A&M's recent recruiting run, well, it warrants some conversation, as well as some players that they might just be in the hunt for, especially given a couple of crystal balls from one of the nation's leading recruiting insiders. So let's get right into it, guys. Thanks for being here. Like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Let's talk about the recent additions, but first, let's talk about where Texas A&M slides into the national recruiting conversation, where they currently sit as the third-rated class in the country behind USC and Georgia. And top 3 is great. Ranking high in July is great, but of course, you have to finish strong, and you really have to look at where you are relative to the rest of the SEC. In this case, Texas A&M is sitting very pretty with 24 commits, a 92.23 average, and trending well for several other prospects. Georgia's done a lot of their work already, 27 commits. That class will end strong, as Georgia always does. Alabama is as hot as they come on the recruiting trail right now with 19 commits. They're on a recent string of 5-star commitments. Kalen DeBoer doing a hell of a job there, better than I thought he would do post-Saban. But if you look, the rest of the conference kind of sits around that 10 marker. LSU, 10th, only 14 commits, a lot of room to grow there. Texas just missed out on Ojo in a surprising win by Texas Tech. Welcome to the world of NIL. Welcome to the world of Texas Tech, I guess. And then you look further down, you got Florida and Tennessee. So Texas A&M sits very well relative to the rest of the conference. A lot of work to go. Again, A&M has done very, very well. And we knew this class started well. Elko and company had a great early start on this class, a lot of early commits, but not really big game hunting initially. A lot of those guys let the recruitment play out a little bit more. That changed recently with commits from Tristan Givens, Bryce Perry Wright most recently, and Brandon Arrington, of course, KJ Edwards. This top 4 all happened very, very recently. I want to talk about these guys because I think Texas A&M's defensive line, though it's, been pretty promising in terms of talent in recent history, that 2022 class, littered with defensive line talent. Last year, 3 guys sent to the pros. Of course, we wish we would have gotten more out of that group. But this year, you got a new-look defensive line. And you lose a lot of those guys after the season, especially if a guy like DJ Hicks plays in a way that he can go pro. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. You're going to lose an Albert Regis. You're going to lose a Cassius Howell. You're going to lose an Onyedem. You're going to lose a Dayon Hayes. There's a lot of eligibility running out on this defensive line. You get some back, but you really got to rebuild this thing. And if you look back to the 2024 class, you built really well on that interior. The 2025 class, when you added a Landon Rink, you added a Chase Sims, a DJ Sanders. It was a very, very strong internal defensive line class, one that is the cornerstone of the future of A&M's trenches, but you need to build the outside, and the outside they are indeed building right now. Let's talk about Tristan Givens, the 6'4" edge rusher out of Georgia. This man is speed. He recently moved from offense to defense, was a pass catcher before, is now an edge rusher. This man is raw, but this man is fast. What he lacks in technique, what he lacks in kind of his contact move arsenal, he makes up for in sheer speed, agility, quickness. He is currently beating offensive linemen as a junior with his sheer speed, getting around guys, making quick steps, just kind of out agilitying offensive linemen. And that's great. He's able to dispatch players that way. It's going to be even better once he becomes a more well-rounded defensive lineman. But I don't think any of that is his best attribute right now, as fast and as quick as he is. He has amazing closing speed on the ball. As soon as he dispatches the offensive lineman, he is Johnny on the spot making tackles. His pursuit, his angles, downright elite for a high school player, especially one that is just new to the position. So it's a great piece to mold. You have a great frame at 6'4", 215, another year in high school to grow. If you're looking at a college playing weight of 230, 235 in the underclassmen years, Tristan Givens could be an absolute problem because he has length and he has the base to put on more weight and he has the God-given speed and agility. So you add some technique to that. I mean, the stuff we have now alone is worth a 5-star ranking. This man could be a tear in the SEC for years to come once he gets that development under his belt. So that's huge to get on the outside to complement the inside guys you got last cycle. And of course, the most recent addition, Bryce Perry-Wright, the 6'2", 250 disruptor, as he's been coined. He's just an interior defensive lineman with elite quickness and elite ball get-off. He lives in backfields. He destroys plays. Now, the question he's going to face at the college level, does he lean into that interior mold? Does he put on that weight? Somewhat naturally, but maybe a little bit of, calculated addition there to get up to that 270, 280. Maybe by the time he's an upperclassman, be in that 280 realm and be just a quick-footed internal player. Or does he lean into that strong side defensive end mold where you can maybe have a Tristan Givens and Bryce Perry on the outside, maybe have a Landon Rink and a DJ Sanders on the inside, Chase Sims off the bench. These are great options for A&M to have down the road. You get a very flexible piece in Bryce Perry-Wright that can be molded in a multitude of ways. Not to mention, this was a head-to-head win versus Clemson, a recruitment that was heavily led by Clemson until maybe the last couple of days or week leading into his decision, and A&M wins that battle. Another feather in the cap of Elko and this staff, their ability to organize. Their ability to organize and unify NIL, let's just be real about that, that's here to stay. Now, one thought we might have had was that was a Jimbo thing and that Jimbo was the one that was able to kind of rally the troops and get this recruiting monster rolling. But it looks like that's A&M, and now with the pilot that is Mike Elko, the hope is that the other stuff comes together too. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Real quick on Brandon Arrington, you get length and you get speed. And when I say speed, that might even be an understatement because he might be the fastest player in this entire recruiting cycle. But he doesn't sacrifice balance for, size and speed. He's able to keep balance despite contact, despite changes of direction by the man he's covering. He is the complete package. And of course, he's a high schooler. He's going to need refinement. He's going to need to fine tool himself. But he has all the tools you could ever want. Now, with that as your top three, you still have KJ Edwards, and we had a hell of a time looking at his tape live, actually. We did that a couple of weeks ago. Just his ability to squirt through small holes, just take the smallest amount of daylight and break it into big runs, the contact balance for the size, the sheer speed, and by all accounts, this guy's going to be about 200 pounds by the time he steps foot onto a college campus. KJ Edwards is a 5-star, but his tape looks like a 5-star back, especially when you consider that his weight is creeping up. You have a top 100 player in Victor Singleton, another guy to add to the bountiful defensive back haul that Elko has gotten over the last couple of years. And you have a lot of pieces down the road. You're familiar with Aaron Gregory and Jonathan Hatton, who both reaffirmed their commitment. You're still holding on to Helaman Kasuga, your quarterback. You have a couple of really good linebackers and Storm Miller and the recent commitment in Tank King. You have a lot of stuff you really want to get in this class. And you really hope that this eval and the, maybe the character side of things is a little bit better than before. We were talking about Elko and his ability to recruit compared to Jimbo, and it looks like he's able to go toe-to-toe with Jimbo, the ace recruiter. But what Elko can bring differently is that development. He can bring that discipline. He can bring that accountability. All stuff that we've heard time and time again about Elko and his regime from the day he stepped on campus. Maybe helping acclimate players to the college level a little bit better coming out of high school. Now that's the dream. That's the hope, right? And we have to see that. But from all indications, that's what's already happening with players on campus. So you marry the elite recruiting with the elite development / team building. That's how you get your winner. That's going to be the difference maker in getting these elite classes onto campus rather than before when they would just get on campus and maybe they're a little bit disorganized, a little bit of lack of discipline, a little bit of lack of accountability. If you build those things and bring them together, that's why you need to be excited about recruiting. That's why it's okay to talk about recruiting, because the way that class failed, the way the 2022 class failed, and this class is not going to hit that level, but it might be the next best thing in terms of A&M's history of recruiting. You shouldn't want to just throw that out or not mention it or just say, show me wins in the fall. And I understand. You want to see wins in the fall. But recruiting like this is a prerequisite to winning at the highest level. You don't win games in July, but you can certainly lose games in July by not nabbing the big dogs. So it's a big deal. You stick elite classes until one clicks. You recruit until the depth chart is too loaded to fail. And right now, Coach Elko and staff is doing exactly what needs to be done. Run it back, recruit until it hits. And then we'll evaluate the team come fall. But right now, in terms of team building and positive signs about this staff going into the future, that stuff looks really positive, guys. And there's one more guy we got to talk about. That Hayes Fawcett crystal ball, he gave us the double gig 'em. Didn't give a name. None of those names have been announced just yet as of now. Those got announced July 7th. We have a Lamar Brown announcement coming up on July 10th. And this kind of coincides perfectly to maybe preview what's to come there. Now, here's the deal with Lamar Brown and what I've been feeling about the guy. Just listening to some LSU guys talk about him, just look at how it really is. The guy goes to school just a stone's throw away from LSU's campus. He's a Baton Rouge native. He's a Louisiana guy. LSU recruits the boot. LSU keeps the boot. And he is square in the middle of the boot. It's going to be tough. And it was always a long shot to get Lamar Brown. To me, despite even what the insiders said, it's been a wild recruitment. Lamar Brown, he's a very vocal guy. He's enjoying his recruitment. He likes to just kind of throw some bait out there and kind of, rally each fan base that's recruiting him. I've always felt like he was an LSU lean, if not an LSU guarantee. But when there's smoke, there's fire, and there is certainly smoke about Lamar Brown right now. I'm not getting my hopes up, but my eyebrow is certainly raised at the timing of the Hayes Fawcett crystal ball and Lamar Brown entering, his decision time in a couple of days. Now, talk about what he would mean for this program. Like we talked about, you have your internal defensive line haul from 2025. You have your outside haul in Bryce Perry-Wright and Tristan Givens this year. You have your base for years to come. You really don't need anybody else. But to get Lamar Brown, to add that to this class, making it squarely a top 3 class this cycle, it's almost, if you're able to hold on to everybody, it's almost a surefire thing. If you get Lamar Brown, you're in the top 3. You add so much to this team by adding Lamar Brown, even though you don't need him. Just imagine a defensive line that features a Lamar Brown next to a DJ Sanders with Tristan Givens and Bryce Perry-Wright flanking that duo. You got a Landon Rink. You got a Chase Sims off the bench. You got other young guys. You still have players around. You still have the transfer portal to work with. If you add this guy, your defensive line is going to harken back to the Wrecking Crew. It just is. In terms of personnel, you have to add development, and we think Elko is the guy to do that. So, guys, who's your favorite commit so far? Who's number 1 on your prospect board? I want to hear from you. Let me know how you feel about recruiting right now. We all know you got to win games in the fall, man. We all know you got to develop. We all know you got to line up on 4th and 1 and get the first down or get the touchdown. You got to do that, but you got to get the players to do it. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you soon. Gig 'em.